How many of us can truly say we are doing something we love or have the courage to carve our own space when one doesn't exist? Aloha, I'm Sharon Landon and welcome back to this episode of Old Asian Lady. Today's guest is Wayne Coito. He is a sports fanatic, the owner of Hawaii Sports Fans, a new father, a podcast host, model, and actor. In this two-part conversation, we explore what it means to grow up in Hawaii with mixed heritage, to navigate racial politics and cultural disconnect, and to reclaim identity, not through blood quantum, but through perspective. We also dive into Wayne's journey from teaching to entrepreneurship, from LA's creative hustle to the quiet transformation of fatherhood.
You went to Vassar, graduated from Vassar, you came back, you get your things. When did you move to LA?
So LA was in 2014. So when I got back to I graduated 2007 from Vassar, came back that summer, was good starting with PhD program. Ended up, I sent a note to Bob Hogue, who was an old sports anchor in Hawaii. If you grew up in Hawaii, you would know Bob. He was at KHON. And I sent him a note saying, hey, I know you're the commissioner of this new conference, Division II conference, athletics. I'm a former athlete who didn't want to coach. I played basketball and volleyball, and I got offered 3 assistant jobs to coach Division I volleyball. They were all in the coldest places in America, like Albany, University of South Dakota. They're like, Wayne, this is a great job. You're young, and you get to be a Division I assistant. I was like, Did you see where, though? It's like, I'm from Hawaii. I'm not going to move to northern Minnesota. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I was like, I want to stay in sports, though. And athletics administration is a part of sports that a lot of people don't talk about. You know, we talk about the AD, like Hawaii just hired a new athletic director. And you don't realize, firstly, it can be lucrative to stay in athletics administration. But it's also a good way to stay in sports without having to really, be that involved in the sport itself. So I said, oh, do you want to, I told Bob, it was actually a message board for Hawaii football. So it wasn't even like a former email. It was more of poking this guy who I knew was Bob Hogue and saying, hey, would you like a graduate assistant? Because I'm going to grad school. So he actually brought me on and we were working in Kailua. And eventually, at that same time, he was like, well, we don't really have pay because you kind of made this up. You kind of came in. So, and I was like, but I want to get paid. He's like, yeah, but you made this up. So we'll give you money, but we need to figure it out. So you need to figure out another part of your life too. So I was teaching, substitute teaching. I was a long-term sub at Mililani High School, which was crazy. It's like 7 periods, teaching every period. And some classes had over 30 kids. So God bless the public school teachers because some of them deal with crazy factors that most teachers would never have to worry about. And then in this January of 2008, a perfect situation popped up for me in that Kamehameha wanted to hire me as a part-time teacher. So I would be getting salary, I'd be getting benefits, everything, and I've only had to teach 2 periods a day. So that was glorious, honestly. I was literally teaching from 11:30 to 1:30.
What did you teach?
And I taught geometry. First year.
Okay.
So, teaching math. And I ended up, eventually, I was teaching seniors. So I was teaching discrete math, probability statistics, more of the just the auxiliary type math subjects, which I think have a lot greater use in society, maybe. For one thing, I'm one of those people, if you ask me how you can apply math, I will show you in life where math is applied. It's I think there is a lot of place. And back to the part of, going to a liberal arts college where it's about thinking and abstractly. And that's exactly what algebra is. And that's why I think algebra is really important. I mean, because you're a detective, you're trying to solve for something and you have to take context clues and try and find a solution. And so that's why teaching math for me, that was, honestly fun, but also kind of easy. I hate to say it, I could show up and be like, today we're learning polynomials. 1 second. All right, here we go. And it's like, even though I never added or subtracted polynomials for 5 years, by now I have a degree. By now I've done higher level math. So I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh, that's here we go. And then you just teach them a concept. So that was an easy way of being like, okay, I'll go and make money teaching people a concept from a book that is already prepared for me. Then I can go and do my sports thing. And that sports thing turned into a TV show. I'll go see 16.
Bob Hogue.
With Bob Hogue. So Bob and I hosted a sports show. So I approached Bob one day and I was like, oh, remember when you used to have Hawaii Sports Final, which was one of my favorite shows as a kid. It would come on Sunday nights after the news, and it was just Bob talking sports for half an hour and showing highlights. And I told him I used to love that show because it was a half an hour of sports. It was just sports. And I was like, we should do something like that. And he's like, I don't know. And of course, the next day, I have this idea, Wayne. We should do a show. And I learned that as a kid, too. Every time you bring up an idea, too, they always turn it down, and they always have somehow the same idea the next day. But I learned that, too. When you're an entry-level person, you just got to deal with that. Like, they're going to take your ideas. It's fine. But that was a great entryway. Bob was an amazing mentor because he's a guy that he could write really quickly, too. He was a good media. But that taught me, like, how to have presence in front of the camera, how to also write my own stories. Eventually, I was editing the show because we couldn't afford the editor anymore. I mean, also dealing with the politics of a budget and all of these schools. So, and within the conference, we had 4 Hawaii schools, HBU, Chaminade, Hawaii Hilo, BYU Hawaii, and we had some mainland schools. And there was, I don't want to say drama, but people are like, oh, these Hawaii schools, they're not like us. And you two are from Hawaii, like Bob and I. So eventually they moved the conference to the mainland, to Los Angeles, or to Orange County. So it was fine. It was like, oh, I know that place. So I ended up, even though they kind of eventually got rid of the office and I was working part-time, I was transitioning into my next role, which was leaving Kamehameha, and then I started Hawaii Sports Fans. So that's why once I left teaching, I started Hawaii Sports Fans in February 2012. I left teaching in May 2012. And then I spent the rest of 2012 and all of 2013 kind of building this company, which was kind of slow. And I was like, I realized that even though I'm having fun and I'm doing something that I want to do, this is not ultimately what I really want to do. So and in 2011 is when I started studying at Scott Rogers, and that's when I met you as well, studio, and that's when that transition started happening. Because when we were sitting on class, when Scott even brought up the people that had moved to LA, honestly, I had never thought about it. Never. And I remember Scott telling people, like, don't do it unless you're ready. Like, obviously he was encouraging folks that really had that passion to do it. But there was a lot of, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Do you have the money? Do you have the plan? So for me, I was like, I don't really have the money or the plan, but I do have the desire. And I did leave this job at Kamehameha, so I have a little, stocked up that I can tap into, but I was already, self-funding my company as well. And that was kind of me, like finally deciding what I kind of wanted to do, but already committing myself and spreading myself thin. And that's kind of where I am at even now today. But I feel like that's really a reflective of who I am inside. I was really trying to find, like, my whole life, what exactly do I align with? Because, like you said, was I forced to study computer science and economics? Not really, but could I sit down and program right now?
You're good in math.
Yeah, I was good at math. Yeah, I was good at math. But to be honest, I was kind of good in a lot of things. I just felt like I needed to satisfy my parents, and even if they weren't asking to be satisfied, I just inherent in me. It's like I was born in this church and raised in a church that was very adamant that you reach certain standards in life, that you attain certain goals. So I felt like I needed to accomplish that and set standards for myself, even though these standards were completely arbitrary. Nobody was telling me I had to study this. I could have only had one major. I could have had 3 majors. I could have studied languages, which I love way more than anything. I think, just studying foreign language. And I felt like such a pause from doing even that, which is crazy to some people, because they're like, you can learn so much in, like we said, in any subject. But when you are drawn to being raised in a way that is like money for one thing is important. You know, whether my parents talk about it or not, it was like, you know, they argued over money, so I knew that money was important. I knew that I would have to be self-sustaining, but I didn't give myself a chance when I was that young to gain perspective of, whoa, there's so many things I could do. It was more like, what can I leave with that's valuable? So therefore, I didn't waste my time here. And I wish I wasn't like that. I wish I was. I wish I could go back and change, but
Yeah, that's
you
the
know.
thing, you know. I mean, a lot of things that I thought, oh, if I didn't grow up in this family and in the economic, yeah, because my adopted dad was in the Navy, so military are not really that well off and stuff. But when I was working abroad and I see all these interns go abroad and learn all these things when overseas, and I always thought to myself, well, I wasn't really exposed to the fact that was available.
Never. Yeah, never.
So I wouldn't have known to take advantage or even explore that option.
Yeah.
You ended up moving to LA, but it was specifically for your acting, modeling stuff.
Yeah.
And how has it been since you've been there? I mean, is it what you imagine it to be? And what was it like then and now?
I think LA, when I got there in 2014, was on the tail end of because the industry goes through a lot of cycles. A lot of it's America, so it comes back to money, right? It comes back to how much producers, how much studios are trying to take, how much leeway they're trying to give to create movies. But I think I got there at a tail end when there was still a lot of production going on, when there was still a lot of ways, I won't say a lot, but there are ways that you could really you could make money in film without needing to be a star, without needing to even be principal. You could do a lot of background. Still people are doing background 24/7, or not 24/7, but at least every day of the year. And that is fine. That they can make a living off of that. But for me, when I got in there, I was like, I'll do some background to try and make money. But really, I was trying to do a lot of principal work. I felt like I was auditioning all the time, honestly. And the thing was, I was union, which I wish I hadn't joined union. I'd be honest, but I was AFTRA. I was in SAG. When the merge happened, I became SAG.
Yeah.
So already I was cut off from so much in Hawaii. Period. They're like, there's no union work for you here. So you have to move to LA if you want to pursue this. And that helped open doors. I did a lot of, little bits here and there. And eventually I signed with a casting office that does commercial background. And you have to audition for a lot of commercial background because you're active and you could be upgraded at any time. So it was a casting agency that I'm still with, and they basically have a roster of people that, they'll just throw in. So I was lucky. I mean, from about 2015 when I signed with them till now, but 16, 17, 18, I was working, at least once or twice a week, which is a lot for background. Yeah, I mean, I tell people that's a solid at least $400 to $500. And you're only working one day. So to be able to do that twice a week, I was like, okay, this is great. Now I can start to pursue other things. But I tell you that I also wish that I had invested in myself in terms of education, in terms of the right people, because at the end of the day, even if you make money in LA, the only way you're going to expand yourself really is to build your net worth.
Yeah.
Very few folks, if you think about it, or attained a certain level or received a project that really blew them up because they auditioned for it and went through the process. It usually means they were thought of, they were, maybe they were hip pocketed by someone who was trying to put them in there, but it was all relationships that they had built. And for sure, there are still, there's room for folks who are talented, who have the right look for a project that can go in. No, nobody, and most did for sure. But what Pavi in LA was that the stronger your support system there, especially folks that work in the industry, that's really what's going to help you move. But with the pandemic really changed everything. To me, that I don't think that LA ever recovered from the pandemic. Once the pandemic hit, it changed everything. I mean, everything. I mean, so many productions went under. And then as they were coming back, we were testing for COVID, which was nice, and he helped us stay safe. But that was an extra expense on them as well. So we'd have to get paid to test, which was nice, right? I'll take my extra $100. Yeah, I'll take the extra money. But eventually you realize that even as you fight for higher wages, the production, all they got to do is simply not produce anymore, simply not make projects. And I feel like that happened in 2020. And then when we went into our strike, 2023, that changed everything again. And I think now we're starting to, I don't want to say pick up the pieces. It's not like things were destroyed, but things were changed in a way that they may not come back. And that's why California right now, the legislature is a lot more aggressive all of a sudden in tax incentives, because they realize that these productions can go anywhere, especially with AI, which is a very new thing.
What I was going to say.
Yeah.
It
has changed everything. And honestly, it's hard for me. I tell people all the time, even on Netflix, and I'm watching shows that are so heavy AI. I mean, the baby in Squid Game Street was completely AI generated, and they didn't even they wanted him to look real, a little Korean baby, but he was clearly computer generated. And I was like, this is taking me out of it, it's taking me out of reality. So I think that's something that I realized that in LA and in the industry in general, that's where we're headed. So we need to be even more aggressive as actors, as filmmakers, as storytellers. We have to be more assertive in saying, like, hey, this is how we want to tell stories. This is how we want to make movies, or, utilize talent in a way that now it feels like, oh, we don't need this guy. Well, we don't need that guy. And now even the off-screen talent, right? The guys behind the camera, they're going to start losing jobs too. I mean, AI can edit. AI can look at a bunch of raw film and just edit for you. Like, why do you need editors? Like, it seems crazy, but it is very scary. Ultimately, I tell folks, I really enjoy the creative energy of LA. I enjoy being surrounded by people who, for the most part, are not afraid of who they are. If they're queer, if they're immigrant, if they're, black, brown, white, a little kooky or weird for the mainstream. That's where you'll find a lot of folks, and that's who you want to collaborate with, because that's who you're learning from. When I went, I definitely believe that it was, I don't want to use the word easier, because nothing is easy in LA, but I would say there are more opportunities where folks were just throwing their fishing lines in and see what they could hook. And I think these days, production companies are more weary about just throwing out a hook and seeing what they can catch, and rather internally looking for talent, or simply using other talent that they've used on prior productions, which makes sense because they know the actor. But it's hard. Like, it's like, okay, Lifetime, okay, like all these movies, which anybody can really be on. Let's be honest. Start using other actors. Like start branching out, because it's hard when I watch commercials. I'm like, honey, really? You're on a commercial? What's I mean? When I went in 2014, celebrities weren't really doing commercials. So we could get, that's supposed to be for us, not for these guys. If you have an Oscar, like I did a commercial with Matt Damon once, and I was like, first of all, it took him forever to do some simple lines. No, you didn't. They hired, it was crypto. So obviously, crypto bros were putting together a commercial. So it was like only a few of us and Matt Damon. He was a star, obviously, but I couldn't believe, first of all, that he's doing this commercial. I'm like looking at him like, you won an Oscar. Like, what are you doing here? This is for me, not for you. But when I saw that, that's when I knew, like, so celebrities are doing commercials. They must need the money, I guess, because that used to be what our bread and butter was, right? As the new actor, as the one trying to get in, that was how you got discovered, right? It was like, oh, I saw you on a Mentos commercial, and then the agency signed me, and then they pushed me in. So I think LA will always be the hub. Well, Hollywood is never going to be overtaken by another Hollywood. I doubt ever. Even at Atlanta built another whatever. And Atlanta's stopping building studios, I've heard as well, because AI is so powerful now that we don't even need sound stages anymore, which is scary.
Crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy. But I think I tell people, if you want to be surrounded by like-minded people, if you want to be in a city that is, for the most part, supportive of divergent voices, supportive of diverse, energies. Whether you are somebody that comes in with a BFA, which to a lot of people means nothing, and to some people means a lot.
Yeah.
So you just never know. But definitely, the way that the industry is going, you don't have to be in LA. Definitely not. I would say absolutely not. You don't have to be. But even if you book something, or even if you pass the first round of auditions, and they want to bring you in for a callback, you probably have to be in LA for a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, with
Yeah.
the COVID thing, this is one
Yeah.
thing that I thought was really cool. It was that it allowed people to send in self-tapes.
Totally.
People from all over the world. But the problem where it comes from me is that because if you're Hawaii, they're saying, oh, stay away from being union
Yeah.
for as much as you can.
Of course.
And so when I started doing other stuff, I never became union.
Yeah.
So now I was sending in my stuff, and then I found out, if you're non-union, you don't even have a chance to be, because especially if it's a SAG film
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Shucks, am I wasting my time now there?
Yeah,
or something? So,
I think it's all about, I think, for one thing, like I said, the traditional means of production have kind of gone out the window. I mean, you can go to a studio, if you go to 824, if you go to these independent major studios like that who are making, Asian geared films as well. But you can also gather your own talent. You can also gather in your own funding. You can also, not to say that's easy either, but starting a business isn't easy. Those things aren't easy. They're not supposed to be easy, but it's supposed to be challenging for you on a personal level. And I think for me too, I tell people all the time, it's like, how many of you would be spending 14 years of your life pursuing something? So for 15, 16 years of, at least in my life, where I'm 16 years where I've been pursuing the industry, and yet I think I might have moved the needle only about this much.
so this is the thing, okay, Hawaii sportsman, you started
Yeah.
because you were passionate about
Sports.
sports. But taking that step, that initial step, I mean, it's a mind shift.
Yes.
So when you did that, it was in your mind. What were you thinking was going?
I was thinking it was going to be lucrative because, that's how people who are positive, and it's another lesson to
We
learn.
all been there.
It's another lesson to learn about capitalism is, guess what? You might not make any money. So that was me and my brain saying, okay, I'm going to start this business so at least my parents, at least they can be satisfied that I'm doing something with it, with my life. And it's funny how it all goes back to, right, satisfying this
Other people.
other people, or this invisible thing that's
Ideal.
telling you to do something that that really doesn't exist. But
Yeah.
so for me, starting Hawaii Sports Fans was a way to obviously blend the things that I love, but make money at the same time. And I'll be honest, I'm now, after 10 years after the pandemic, because the pandemic also killed that business,
Really.
I've had to emerge differently and be more intentional, and that has helped because I've had to pick up, Hawaii Sports Fans has had to make up for a lot of the commercials that I don't do anymore. And like I said, I mean, to circle back to the thing with the commercials, in the heyday, 16, 17, 18, and right when it kind of hit the pandemic, actually I was working strong up to the pandemic. And once that pandemic hit, I don't think commercial production will ever return to pre-production. And that was my bread and butter, at least. I mean, you could easily make even an average American salary, or a high average, like $50K a year, just by doing a few background gigs. That's nice, right? People are working, 40, 50 hour a week to make that kind of money, but you also, you play a certain role, right? When you're background, you know your role, but some days you are the star. Some days they're like, you're in, and you upgraded, and here comes all your residuals, and you're like, oh, this is exactly why I'm doing this. But that's a hard thing for some people to live off of because of the uncertainty. But I think that's a part of being an actor. It is the uncertainty. It is the fact that you don't know where it's going to go. I mean, and like you said, everything happens for a reason. We talked about it. You end up coming to, you already planned it, then and I feel the same way. Like I'm realizing that I just have to let the universe or God, if you believe in God, to let
I like to say
that
creator or
creator.
universe.
Yes.
God, I mean, God is so overused
Totally.
in religion and things, and I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, if you allow yourself to say like the creator, nature, the natural way of things, because how often too where I'm fighting what I'm doing in life, or I'm feeling so stuck, but yet some decision I made,
Yeah.
So
with the Hawaii sports fan, I know it started off really, really difficult start. At this point, because you guys are going to other countries too.
Yeah.
So at this point, do you feel comfortable with it as a business?
I do.
Yeah.
As a business, I feel like I can expand, and I see the potential for expansion. I feel like for me, I've had to change, because when I first started Hawaii Sports Fans, I was like, I'm gonna be just like one of the big guns in tour adventures, and I'm gonna take these people, because if you know Hawaii folks, kupuna, that age group, they're very much tied to tour agencies, or a lot of people, even when they go to Vegas, they're not going up their own. They're not just booking a flight to Vegas and finding a hotel. They're booking packages. So I was like, I got to compete with these guys and be like them, and even make my price point compared to them. And no, there's no way I could.
Yeah, there's like so much learning.
No, so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you set your price point at a place where these people are scaling, they can set their price point here because they have a lot of money. Yeah. You cannot set your price point here because your cost is right above that. So
there's where your economics.
Yeah. So that's where the economic, and for sure. But what I realized is that it's about giving value. It's about you giving value. Remember, and for me, it was like, what inherently has value? And that's something I had to change. It was like, how do I give value?
Because it's different. Everybody,
absolutely,
it's different. So, okay, how do you bring value? And what did you decide? Okay, what was your light bulb moment?
Well, I received, actually, it's funny, a major light bulb moment, even though I'd already been thinking this way, came just a couple months ago. I received a letter from a woman, 83, never ever went with me before, went with her other 3 83-year-old friends, and they like had amazing blast. Like everything to them was cool. Even like, they're like, wait, you know when we were leaving the parking lot, I was like, oh yeah, my most frustrating part of Dr. Xavier, that was so fun. Like watching you kamikaze around cars and yell at people and get sworn at. Wayne, that was so fun. I was like, what? I was like, God is not fun to me.
Like, when you get to 83.
No, they love that. They were like, no, Wayne, when we're just, they're like, honestly, Wayne, you're the reason that you make the tour.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's true. I was like, but I took you to all these cool places. They're like, yeah, but it's you. You taking us there. You, the way that you talk to us, the way that you make accommodations for us. Nobody does that. Nobody else treats us that way. And that's what I realized. Like, oh, the value is, that's the difference is. And you can apply that to acting as well. You can apply that to anything. So it really taught me, it's like, you have to lean in, So rather than run away from the quirky parts about yourself, or the parts that, and that's funny because I told her, like, that's my ugliest moment sometimes when I'm leaving that freaking Dodger parking lot. That's my ugliest moment. They're like, wait, that's so fun. Like, we love like the crazy. That's and one of those, because
that's really huge. They get a lot of gigs from tour when you go on tours. Tour guides, people love it. Yeah.
So that taught me a big lesson. That was the light bulb moment, because it was like, I need to stop worrying about, first of all, the price point. Of course, I had to raise prices. I had to raise prices after the pandemic. And I did it so slowly, and I did it so methodically in a way that I was like, I'm so scared. These people are going to run away. And then this past year, I charged the most I've ever had, and I got the most customers.
Yeah, see, I think that's
crazy.
Because fear is a sort of certain type of energy that blocks stuff. And once you let it go and allow the universe to take you where you're passionate about, what you feel good about, it's going to come.
Yeah, it will.
I believe that. Yeah.
But you definitely have to let the universe do its work. You cannot set up the blockages. You cannot be like, oh, this will never work. This will never happen. And I tell people, there is hyper optimism that can be a little unjustifiably positive, but at the same time, if you're not living in that mentality that's going to happen, why would it ever happen? You know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really important. And also the fact that you're doing something you like, and also that you're working towards your always. You know, you're getting help from everyone else.
That is something you have to unlearn. It's funny to say this because it's wild, but you can have fun. You have permission to have fun.
Yes.
And also start a career. Also start a business. Like,
Yeah.
give yourself just the grace. You want to use a religious term. Give yourself that grace yourself. You don't need deity. You don't need another.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need another figure. You just need to allow yourself to be who you are, and that usually requires, what the kids say. I've heard the Gen Z kids like to say cringe. Have you ever heard that? Cringe. Don't be cringe.
Yeah.
And that's their way of describing allowing yourself to be yourself and allowing yourself to look silly,
Yeah.
and that is something that's so hard for everyone, even me, myself, I know, for doing social media even. I mean, how hard is it for me to press the send button or the post button? Because it needs to be exactly perfect. I need to be able to ensure that no one will make fun of me if they look at this video. And that's wild, but that is just how we're conditioned. So a lot of it is unconditioning, or reconditioning, I should say.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, I don't think my parents on purpose raised me in a culture of fear, but if you're going to raise me religiously, where fear is the driving motivator, then of course I'm going to be fearful. Of course I'm not going to approach life from a place of passion or of joy. I'm going to approach from a place of, oh my God, what could go wrong? And I've been trying to reverse course on that a lot in my life, because I've allowed so much to get in my way. So many barriers that I set up myself.
Oh yeah.
And, I think we do it.
ourselves. We can't mitigate this.
Yeah. So I think at this point, it's all about, being more intentional, because no longer do I want to set myself. I want to be set free to do whatever I want, but I don't. I can reel in the parts of me that maybe aren't servicing my spirit, my soul in a way that is positive. Maybe it was a good source of income. Maybe it was, a human being or something, a connection that I kept in my life. But you have to be willing to let everything go at certain points.
Yeah.
No, it's be free.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And so, thinking about all of that and what you are allowing into your life, and you actually are a new dad.
Yep.
And
crazy.
so you have a little soul that's come
Yeah.
into your lives. And I know that there was this big old Hawaii events that got
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
together. And Fuchsia, your wife, was responsible for doing that.
Yeah.
Took her 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys know each other before?
Yeah.
You met? Oh, okay, so it wasn't like you guys met
Yeah.
at that Hawaii thing.
But we did meet because of sports.
Yeah, okay.
So in 2016 is when I met her the first time at a game, and she, just like me, enjoys going to sports, especially Hawaii football. And for her, she would start with her family going, and then she became an adult. She was going by herself too. So me going by myself, her going by herself. We were friends mostly. We started off specifically as friends, really, but that grew, and that was something that I didn't see coming either. I think people talk about that all the time, like, oh, you can be friends with somebody. I'm like, that's weird, but it happened. So we are in a long-term partnership, but we'll make things official. She does have a ring, but we'll definitely still need to make it official. But at the same time, being able to have that foundation with someone who already understands the passion, and understands the crazy, because she herself, for instance, she has a favorite NBA team, the Orlando Magic, which is Orlando's 5,000 miles away from Hawaii. She still manages, even when she's by herself, to go to Orlando, watch a game. And that's the kind of crazy that I love, right? That's the kind of my crazy. So that was easy for us to, to be able to reason with each other when it came to all the things that we want to do, because it's like, I also want to, I'm a Chiefs season ticket holder, so we go to Missouri together, and we have a lot of friends there, and mean, that's a part of culture, though. That's a part of life, and that's why I say that's the best part of America to me. It's sports and Halloween, but those are the only things that about America that I'm like, this is the best, because there really isn't anything like it, in terms of our sports culture. Even though I learning soccer culture and football culture around the globe, this is another level of fandom as well and culture, and I've been getting involved with that with my soccer team in LA. But that's really the foundation of our relationship. Goes back to sports and who we and how we are. Just love being in the stands, love of cheering, because being a supporter is an active thing. It's on your feet. You're jumping up and down. I mean, and I'm here for any sports experience on the planet. One of my favorite was when I was in Taichung and going to the Monkeys baseball game. And I was like, Taiwanese baseball is the best. I mean, it was crazy. First of all, the game had a tightrope walker walking from the outfield to the media room on a tightrope in the rain. At one point, he tripped. I was like this. And I was like, this is amazing. This is the best. And of course, I love boba, and that's why I went to Taiwan. There's boba everywhere. I was like, this is exactly the sports experience I want to have. So for me, I think it's universal for the both of us, is that we want to go to games.
Yeah.
We want to experience the energy of the crowd. We want to learn, see what kind of food is out there. But, that all comes down to enjoying interaction with other human beings and enjoying that. So I think that's what I'm trying to promote through Hawaii Sports Fans, is like being with a bunch of like-minded people, feeding off of each other's energy and going on adventures. I mean, this past year I had a World Series tour. Fortunately, the Yankees couldn't win one game to bring the game back to LA. So I told my rep I want to have a box for Dodgers game 6 and 7, because I thought the World Series would go to 6 and 7. Well, it ended up not. So I had my group come to LA and we went to the parade instead, and then I took them on an adventure to watch Hawaii football in Fresno. And I was like, this 3 hours back and forth, like this will be a total adventure, and it was so much fun. And I just appreciate that people are willing to trust in me. I mean, driving us in pitch black. I mean, the game didn't end so really late. We had victory pho that we found in Fresno, so we ended up not even leaving till 10:30 probably, and I had to drive all the way back to LA, which is over 3 hours. So those are adventures, but had I did it by myself, it wouldn't be as fun. I think it was more fun because we all got to cheer together, we all got to celebrate together, we were all in the news together and it's a collective experience. So I think having someone that understands that, especially having parents like hers who also are major supporters of University of Hawaii and also of Major League Baseball, Ohtani, all the things that I love. It's like, I don't have to explain it at all. Yeah. I mean, I do have to explain sometimes why it is frustrating to sit down in one place because, I have to watch my kid and I'm here for her. And to be honest, even if I told myself I'm just going to leave tomorrow, I don't care. I wouldn't be able to. I would feel so guilty for still leaving him behind and leaving her, with them. So this is a little pause in the action, I would say, but it's not for long because once summer's over, we're back on the trail, and this time we'll just have a extra baggage to bring along as well, for sure. But no, I can tell from now to the rest of my life, I won't really have the dull moments to just play with or to run away from society. Now is like having a real responsibility that you can't let someone else do. I mean, it's nice to have two parents, active parents supporting, but it's rough. I don't know how people do it by themselves.
So aside from having a less of a freedom at this point, what else about having a baby or being a father excites you?
It's exciting because I've seeing somebody. I mean, first of all, it's eerie to look into a face that looks kind of like yours, and you're like, even when I looked at my old photos and my album, there are some pictures that look like him, like exactly like him, and it's crazy. So I think that definitely hits home. Like, this is yours. Like, you can't, run away from it. And also, not that you want to run away from it, but you have to, like I said, just like my quirks, just like all the things that make me different, you have to lean into it. So trying to lean into being a father more, lean into being a dad. And what does that mean? It means, taking responsibility. It means dealing with, and it can be frustrating. I mean, if someone can't communicate with you and they're crying, you can't get them to stop. It's frustrating. And they make you watch a video in the hospital. They're like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't shake the baby. Don't. And you think, I would never do that. And then the moment comes, you're like, this is frustrating. I'm just going to grip my teeth. Because I don't know what else to do for this kid. So that's definitely a skill that you acquire. But it also, I also feel a lot less apprehension about doing the things in the world that I thought were scary or tough, because this is tough and this is scary. Yeah. So it's like I need to, use his existence, his motivation, not necessarily to justify what I want to do moving forward, but to, accentuate, to affirm who I am, to, share even more broadly the gifts that I realize that I have more now. But a lot of it is self-doubt, and a lot of that I was taught. I don't want him to inherit. I don't want him to have to inherit this idea that I need to be pleased or he needs to do something that is, because even like with sports, constant keyboard, oh wow, like he's gonna be tall and he's gonna be like you, and then you can make him a basketball player, a volleyball player, a football player. I'm like, no, I really don't.
He's always
care.
like this.
No, for sure. And even last night, even with my family, like, oh look at his hands, like he's gonna be a good volleyball player. And I always tell people, like, I don't even care if he likes sports.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, even if he hates sports, but was nerding out, I just wanted to be passionate about something. More than anything, I wanted to be a kind person, But, like, I don't want him to feel pressure about playing a sport or being a part of sports. Like, that's for, him and his, his mom and I, we obviously have similar passions that overlap when it comes to sports. But for him, I would prefer for him to just be, feel a sense of openness and feel a sense of, fearlessness to start a business as a kid, or to, have really large aspirations. Like something that's so wild that something that I don't, okay, like if you told me I wanted to play in the NBA, I'd be like, okay, as a basketball player first, I know what it's like to want to play in the NBA. And then when you realize you're not 6'7", I'm 6'2", and which is, it's big for Hawaii, right?
Yeah,
for the
NBA,
it's short for the NBA.
Yeah.
And I still don't want, if he wants to be a basketball player, I'll
you still want to pave the way.
Exactly. I want to pave the way, and I want him to be, because it's not impossible. There's a kid right now in Opera, Hawaii, who plays on the Olympic under 19 U.S. team, and he's probably the furthest anyone from Hawaii's ever gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying he's not going to be the last. He will only be the first. So maybe when my son, when Ryan, he gets to that age, maybe the basketball world, maybe Hawaii is, has great basketball players. Because when I was a kid, there were no NFL quarterbacks. There were no college quarterbacks that looked like me. And yet, now the NFL has 2 quarterbacks from Hawaii, and even another one that's Hawaiian from Mililani that looks like me. How crazy. I would never have imagined that growing up. So I don't want him to feel like fear around or cynicism, because everyone at a certain point gets cynical about, I don't know, their life, their dreams, their aspirations. It's like, I want him to feel like just a freedom, for sure. So I think ultimately it's like when you become a father, you have to, you feel like a pressure to convey wisdom or to just be like authoritative. But for me, it's like, as long as he's taken care of, as long as he say, I want him to be able to take in all the stimuli around him and all of the life lessons. But the hard part is knowing that he's gonna have to get hurt. I mean, he's gonna have to fall over, or like he might not have to break as many bones as his dad, because I'm way too curious for my own good half the time, and that's why I've ended up in emergency rooms. And
I have to say this is a guy thing a lot of times because I'm sorry. I mean, some of the things that you guys do, girls would not do that. We're not like that silly, but
No, you're right. No, you're right. And I just seeing my friend, my St. Fuchsia's friend's son, who's 2, and how wild he is. And I'm like, man, this is what I am in store for, because boys do not, and boys have poor rationalization. I mean, there are things that I did even as a 22-year-old that in Hawaii, like jumping into certain caves that I drive by and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, how did I possibly think this was safe? Like when I drive by now, but I'm like, when I was 21, I was like, this is nothing. Woo! I'm like,
you mean the ocean or just
in the ocean? Like by Yokohama, there's a place called Hercules Rock, which is just like a crazy cave thing that's at least 50 feet, maybe even more. It's hot, and you have to time the water too. And I thought, every time I pass it, when Yokohama, I'm like, what the F was I thinking? So I know that for him, I'm not going to be able to, unfortunately, probably stop all of this crazy thinking, because for boys, you need to learn the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
I broke this finger twice. Not once, but twice. And that's why, I mean, I have marks on it, and I broke this hand right before the pan. I mean, I've only slowly started to tone down my crazy exploits, but if we can channel that in a way, that is productive. And I think, honestly, life lessons are always productive. You don't want to have to go through crazy amounts of pain or have to go to the hospital. But when I look at him now, I'm like, man, he's in a perfect condition, and doesn't appear to have allergies, doesn't appear to have problems with dairy, all the things that bother me. But I'm like, eventually those things will change. He's going to have to fall off a couch or fall down the steps or
eat a bug.
Yeah, eat a bug. Exactly. No, like that's going to happen. Like I'm certain of it. So I think it's for me preparing myself for those times, but also being able to reflect on myself and how I was raised and what my parents were thinking. Me being the oldest as well, being the firstborn son like him, it's like what kind of pressure was put on him that was put on me. And my parents were unmarried at the time as well when they had me. My parents were a new couple for the most part, so there are some similarities there. So I think there's a lot of new life lessons. But my life changed for him. Like, it definitely changed. Like, as he grows up, he's not forced to go to church. I mean, if he wants to do religiously quit, like, he won't be forced to go to church. He won't be forced to live certain, ideologies. Yeah. I think that'll be way different for him. I think it'll be a lot of my friends in college who never really worried about. It's not like they wanted to be hardcore drug users, but it's like, hey, I'll party, I'll try something, which I would never do because I'd feel the ultimate guilt.
Yeah.
And I think I was always like, wow, people are so open. Like, I remember friends being like, oh, my parents told me about how they would use acid, like in the age of Aquarius, and they were all, drug people, and that was just a way, to fight against the Vietnam War and a lot of that. And it's like we're still living those challenges today, but it's like, how are we dealing with it? I mean, for me, obviously going to church and going to the temple was a major source of inspiration for me. Even if I wasn't gleaning everything I wanted from that experience, I was putting myself in a place that was sacred, that was quiet, that was undisturbed, where I could focus. And a lot of my meditations were on God and being a better Mormon, but you could still use those same principles of grounding yourself in nature and channeling your own personal energy and removing barriers, mental obstacles that keep you kind of in a rut. And I'm hoping with him, he's removing a lot of those mental obstacles, because it's like, man, if I can have him, if I can deal with this creature, I think there's much more than I could do. And being 42, even which it's like, you think about your age through your 30s all the time. Oh my God, I'm 31, I'm 32, I'm 30. I'm almost in my late 30s, and I'm finally getting to a place where, like, I know that I'm not in my 20s. I know that I'm not in my 30s, but I don't dwell on being in my 40s. I feel like it's a new age. Like, for me, I'm like, here we go, starting all over again. I mean, I can't dunk a basketball anymore, which is I can barely jump anymore for someone that used to.
Did you injure your?
Oh yeah, so both of these knees and this shoulder is probably my worst injury is the shoulder and both knees. So, I mean, I don't even do those things anymore that I used to enjoy doing, like, you know. But at the same time, I think you need to, as all human beings, still need to be healthy. You still need to find ways to work out. But things change. And change your diet. You change your, you know, just the way you look at life and the way you approach things. And you know, it's not like being a Mormon standards were terrible to uphold because they're super strict. So it's like, of course, you're going to avoid a lot of issues if you, you know, because Mormons are all about the position you put, the place you put yourself into is on you. So it's like if you were in a strip club or something, but you decided to go there. So therefore, you are opening yourself up to someone drugging your drink, or, you know, like, it's always about your personal responsibility. So it's like Mormons are all about remove yourself completely so then you'll never, of course, there's safety in that. Locking yourself in a room, there's safety. You'll never get hit by a car if you lock yourself in a room, you know. But I feel like I want him specifically to take risks because taking risks are the only way. But for me, I also want to expand my own personal ability to take risks. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, I can keep him alive, regardless if I'm living on the beach or in a mansion. Mm-hmm. And if that is, you know, but I tell people like that's my charge at the moment. Is keeping him alive, like keeping him happy, keeping him content, keeping him. That's like the secondary to him just breathing. Like I'm constantly like looking at his stomach, like, okay, it's moving, and it's very subtle too. You're like, it's just like a little bit up. You're like, okay, thank God, he's still alive. But that's literally the baseline. It's like, is he breathing? Okay, thank God. Yeah.
I feel like this is because he's only a month.
Yeah, he's only a month old.
So you're going through the new dad phase because you're not looking at it.
No, yeah, I'm constantly looking to see if his face is.
So what's his name?
Do I hear him? His name is Ren.
Ren, but you have a whole.
So Ren, and then his first middle name is Kojo. It's a Japanese name. It just shares with his grandfather. Yeah. And his other middle name is Kouhi Aimoku Akama.
Okay, the Hawaiian part.
The Hawaiian part.
And what does that mean?
So the Hawaiian part is a derivative actually of Aimoku, which is in the middle of the same. It's actually, Ai is to eat in Hawaiian, but Moku is as land or the island. So you're not actually eating the island, you're ruling the island. So you're like, so we have chiefs, Ali, in our bloodline. And one of them, his name was Kouhi Akama. It was only about like the mid 1800s, right, when Hawaiians started using last names, and like that wasn't a thing prior to contact with missionaries. Was kind of our standard English, and then like Hawaiian surnames or whatever, like that was brought on later. So the name of the Aimoku Kouhi Aimoku Akamo is the name that was used later generations as the last name. So it actually is a name that exists in our family as the last name, but it's derived from an earlier chief, Ali.
Okay.
So that's what I can surmise by just looking at the genealogy.
Right. So you also must have a Hawaiian part of your name.
Yeah. It's so that's funny as well. So my middle name is Kainoa, which is very common, I would say, amongst Hawaiian names. But so I always laugh. I'm like, I'm glad I have it, but my mom and that, you know, my parents, like I said, do not identify as similarly. Of course, I went with the same convention as my parents, like a English first name, Hawaiian middle name, and a last name. But I think for me, I mean, my mom was always like, oh, I just love that name. I know, I love that name. Where for me, I was like, if I don't have a dream, where it comes to me, I'm going to make sure that I needed to, it was like such a responsibility from me that I put it on myself to like make sure he has like an appropriate name, and that one that was like reflective of him, but also something that was like special. I don't know, in a way. I don't want to use the word special, but in a way, like I want it to have meaning. I will admit though, I say like I want him to be anything or let him, but I do want him to be a Hawaiian activist. I really want him to understand his kuleana, his roots and his responsibility, because he's really lucky. He's fortunate he gets to be born in Hawaii. You know, a lot of kids that are Hawaiian are these days are born in Las Vegas. You know, they don't really get a chance to live in Hawaii. They don't really get a chance to know what it's like to be surrounded by so much family and rooted here. So I think for him, I hope he understands that, you know, when he's an adult, I don't know what Hawaii will look like demographically. I really don't, because if we keep allowing people, you know, once they pass it, or it's scary. I mean, people from Hawaii who are living in their homes who don't have kids, like, where are their houses gonna go? Like, I have a gut feeling it's gonna be a rich person in the mainland who will try and scoop up. I mean, we already see
in China.
Or in China, yeah, in China, exactly. And then, I mean, even I was in Hawaii Kai. I was at Hawaii Kai Costco, and I heard Cantonese and Mandarin separately, and I was like, "Whoa, what?" From the workers to the customers, and I was like, "Wow, this is like being in Garden Grove in Little Saigon, where we're speaking Spanish, we're speaking Vietnamese, we're speaking English constantly." That's something I love too. But at the end of the day, I would love Hawaiian to be back to being the official language of Hawaii. It is one of the official languages, but I would love to see by the time he's an adult that it's being used as a form of communication. And I'm seeing it organically now, which is cool. I am definitely seeing it organically. I've seen it in doctor's offices. I've seen it at the park. And it's usually kids who went to immersion and then their parents also speak. But nonetheless, like, seeing someone naturally approach someone in Hawaiian is so wildly different than something we would have seen in the 80s, 90s, or 2000s, you know, up to this time. And it's like, it's taken that long for the Hawaiian Renaissance to really you know, be rooted once again. But of course, you're still going to have issues with academically, or, you know, just like looking at Mandarin, how Mandarin has changed and how Mandarin became the standard in China. I mean, so many people when in Hawaii, they don't understand being Chinese, wildly different, being Uyghur or being, you know, Han, or being like, you know, a giant like Yao Ming. It's like they're all of that is encompassed in being Chinese, but just like being American, we have to break that down into who are we talking about and who specifically are we referring to. So I think for him being Kanaka Maoli, even if he is a quarter, you know, blood Ponto, I think his identity is going to be important for me to have him be rooted in that Hawaiian identity for the sustainability of our people and our culture, but also for the growth and expansion of Hawaiian ways of thinking and Hawaiian thought.
We're at the point of my show where I want you to share your wow.
Okay.
So your wow being your words of wisdom based on all the things that you've heard. Is there anything that you feel like you can share with the audience?
Woo! I mean, I'm learning every day. So for me, you know, when it comes down to wisdom, I feel like I want to leave it to the elders or someone else. But I think for me too, I've been through enough, and I've had enough life experience where I've learned a few things in life. But I think for one thing, I mean, like you said, it starts with being open. It starts with allowing yourself to learn about other people and cultures. And you don't have to even have a passport right now. America is diverse. Hawaii is diverse. Even Mississippi is diverse enough where you can find Chinese people, you can find Mexicans, you can find folks that will open up your life to you a new way of thinking. And maybe that starts by eating at, you know, like even for my grandfather, his whole perception of Vietnam was was going there to Vietnam. And then when I came back as a Vietnamese speaker, the culture opened up. Now he loves Vietnamese food. He has a particular favorite. Anything that's Vietnamese related, he will refer to me as to like, oh yeah, this is in Vietnamese. Yeah, like, what does this mean? Or, you know, you're humanizing. I hate to say it, but war dehumanizes, right? It's like, especially Arabs are dehumanized so much in America, and it's like, that's my biggest thing. I don't want to be political, but I'm going to end by saying, like, it's hard for me to see genocide going on, or, you know, other things that I think we take for granted. And like you said, we just take for granted. We're easy. It's like you have to jump in it. I think it's just too easy to be comfortable all the time. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable because it's through the discomfort that you have growth. So whether it's, you know, having to travel somewhere and being in a situation where you're stuck or you're scared, or whether you're just allowing yourself to quit that job that you don't want to be in, or it's like life will move on. Like I promise life will keep going. And even if you take a few steps backward, it really is going forward. Like even right now, for me, it's hard to be in this lull, right? But is it really a lull? I tell myself, this is the hardest time of my life, really. Like taking care of a newborn is crazy. It's so much work.
It's the universe giving you
Yes.
new lessons and new
Absolutely.
appreciation
Yes.
and new things to think about.
And that's the wisdom right there,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, okay. One of the things before I say bye to everybody is that on your website, I think it's your grandma had this is holo holo.
Yeah.
Or what is it called? Holo holo.
Going holo holo. Yeah.
Going holo holo all over the
Yeah, all over the place, all over the creation.
I love that because first when I was reading, I was
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
okay, that's Hawaiian. Let me try to figure it out.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I'm thinking creation. Wait a minute, is
Yeah.
that it? Is that Hawaiian?
Yeah. It's like a pigeon thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can we say it?
Yeah. Holo holo all over the creation.
Yeah, so we're gonna go holo holo
Yeah.
all over creation.
Yeah.
And thank you for stopping by on this episode of Old Asian Lady, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Mahalo.